This is the Louie Tee Network.
In the lab room.
Draft Zone.
So I move on. You look at the Rams. This is their second time picking at 13. I expect them to take a safety here, a corner here. If a tackle is still on the board, they take that. You know, you don't know what this draft is going to hold, but expect them to go defense most likely at 13 if it is available. So you look at the Chicago Bears at 14, and you got to think to yourself, Bears need safety help. Bears need corner help. Bears need defensive line help. So you look at any one of those positions, it needs to be on the defensive side of football. And you can even sprinkle in a little bit of C.J. Mosley if you like, okay? The Bears are taking defense at 14. Don't think offense, don't look offense, it's defense. And so for me, it's either a safety, and I'm thinking at 14, you get the pick of the litter. I think both Clinton Dix and Pryor could still be on the board. I fully expect Clinton Dix to come off the board at 13 to the Rams if they're interested. But if he doesn't, I think the Bears make that selection and feel good about what they've just done, which is what I have them mocked to do. But I could easily see the Rams saying, nope, we'll take Clinton Dix. Thank you very much. And so the Bears would have to go to plan B, whatever that is, whether it's Pryor or it's a corner, whether it's Dennard or if Gilbert is still on the board or whatever the case may be. Maybe they say, okay, fine, we'll go in a different direction. We'll take C.J. Mosley. But to me, you drafted like 8 linebackers last year. How about you give those guys a chance to play football and focus in on what was the sore spot of your team last year, and that was the secondary, mainly the safety position, and get you one of those. So that's what I expect the Bears to do at 14. 15 is an interesting spot because the Steelers, I think that early on in the process, I had them originally mocked to take Kelvin Benjamin. I thought they were really high on this guy, and they need a big receiver. They drafted Derek Moy out of Penn State, and this guy just looks clumsy. He looks goofy. I don't trust him. I don't know if they trust him. Maybe he just needs more time to develop. But they need a big target. Heath Miller can't be the guy that you go to when you need a big catch. You need bigger receivers when you get around the red zone. That's why they went and got a Plaxico Burress last year, but he didn't play it down for them. He got injured. And so I was thinking Kelvin Benjamin just makes a lot of sense for them at 15. But then I looked at Ike Taylor and his situation, and it feels like, you know, Dennard just fits what they do. Darqueze Dennard to me just seems like a Steeler. I said that in my mock draft, and so I said he's the pick here. He's a Steeler. That's who they take at 15. But then Jerry Jones started to run his mouth at 16 about the prospects of getting Johnny Manziel. I want you to remember this, okay? Jerry Jones isn't a businessman. He's a businessman. And if you let Johnny Manziel fall to him at 16, watch him handle his business. Damn. He'll take him. You think he's bluffing? That is not a myth. That is a truth. If you think that Jerry Jones will hesitate to take Johnny Manziel at 16. Now, he's not trading up for him. But damn it, if he falls to 16, think Jerry Jones won't pull the trigger. Pull that trigger on Johnny Manziel. You got another thing coming. He's going to pull that trigger so they ain't going to fast make your head spin. You get knocked out like Mike Tyson. Nah, I'm just playing. He's going to take him some Johnny Manziel if he's there at 16 is what I'm trying to say. So, tell you this much. Maybe the Steelers pick at 15 is a hotbed for a team like Cleveland, who maybe doesn't take Johnny Manziel or a quarterback for that matter at 4. They take Sammy Watkins or they take another guy at 4 that they feel really good about. And maybe the Steelers say, hey, the Cowboys are right here talking crazy about picking Johnny at 16. I got 15 right here for you if you want it. All you got to do is give me that other first rounder that you got. I want your second rounder too. And toss in a complimentary 5th. And you got a deal. Or maybe they just say, hey, I just want your first and your second. And we got a deal. Maybe the Browns say, all right, you twisted in my arm. You got it. I need to get this guy. And you move back if you're Pittsburgh at 15. That's something to think about. But if they don't move out of 15, expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to go. And I want to say they want to take an offensive player here, a receiver. I just expect them to go defense here. And if Darqueze Dennard is there at 15, I don't see how the Steelers can pass on him. I just don't. And so you move on. I just talked about Dallas at 16. They're in a conundrum because what do you do at 16? What makes sense at 16? Trading back makes sense. Taking Johnny Manziel doesn't make any sense. But then again, what does Jerry Jones do that makes a lot of sense anyway? So I don't know what the Cowboys are going to do. Defensive end is clearly a need for them. So is safety if you want to be really nitpicky. But again, I feel like you got to give these young guys a chance to play. So I don't know if you necessarily need to draft safety. I also heard someone saying, hey, they could draft a receiver. But why? I don't understand the logic there. You got Des Bryant. You got Terrence Williams. I like Cole Beasley. Why would you need another receiver? But the more the merrier. They could take a receiver here. Could see Jerry wanting to make a big splash. So we'll see. I think the pick there, if they must make a selection, I think it's a safety, to be honest. If Pryor is there, I think they take Pryor and feel like they got a good football player that could come in and help them. But I could easily see them taking a defensive end. I could see them taking, Aaron Donald or a guy like that along the defensive line if they can't get their hands on a safety or if they can't get their hands on Johnny Manziel. Who's to say? But that's an interesting pick at 16 for the Dallas Cowboys. You look at the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, to me, 2 positions. 2. Nothing else is even in discussion here. I don't care if Ebron's on the board or not. You either take a tackle or you take a safety. You pick. I don't care which one it is. But that's the pick. So if you're hearing Ebron here, if you're hearing receiver or anything else, miss. The pick here is either Zach Martin out of Notre Dame or Calvin Pryor or HaHa Clinton Dix if they're on the board. You move on. 18, the Jets. This is interesting because you've heard, look, the Jets are drafting a receiver here. Unless there's an elite corner on the board still. If Gilbert is there, if Dennard is there, I don't see how Rex Ryan is able to pass that up. Because you know how he loves being able to lock teams up. And so if he can get a player that can help him change the game defensively, I think he'll strike while the iron's hot. But if you take those corners off the board and you take, anything that could entice him to make a selection that's probably out of the box off the board, then the smart pick here is receiver. You don't have enough weapons, maybe even tight end. If you're enamored with Ebron, knock yourself out. I would tell you, though, that you need another receiver. And I heard you talking about liking Kelvin Benjamin. No. Okay? No. Bad Jets. No, bad Jets. Stop it. You need speed. You need an all-around threat that can provide you with a little juice on special teams as well as light it up offensively and take the top off the defense. You need speed. And the guy that can bring you that package to me, the best in the first round at your pick, is Odell Beckham Jr. ODB. J. So, Odell Beckham Jr. for me is what I mocked. That's what I expect them to take. Now, if you want to take Brandon Cooks, he makes a lot of sense here, but he doesn't bring all of the things to the table I think Odell Beckham Jr. brings to the table. Give me ODB at 18 for the NYJs. Jets. Jets. So you move on to 19, Dolphins. Again, no-brainer. Whatever offensive lineman is available, tackle, guard, I could care less. Pick them, whoever's highest on your board. So if Zach Martin is still around at 19, you're smiling from ear to ear, and you turn in a card. If he's not, then you look at the next position, and you say, okay, Xavier Su'a-Filo is on the board. Maybe this is a little too high for him, but I'm not going to get another crack at him. You take him off the board. End of discussion at 19 for the Dolphins. So you go to 20 for the Arizona Cardinals. And this is another one of these picks that could go in a multitude of ways. If Ebron is there, which is what I have them mocked to get, I think that Bruce Arians jumps at the opportunity to get a game-changing tight end, okay? But what if he's not available? What if Pryor or HaHa Clinton Dix isn't available? You don't go reaching for a Deion Buchanan or a Jimmy Ward. I think you got to wait on those guys. And so I think the next thing for the Arizona Cardinals to do then is to maybe start looking at that defensive tackle position. All right? Maybe a guy like Rashid Hegman is something that tickles your fancy at 20. Maybe another guy is there that you like at 20 that comes in and can change the game for you. I'm thinking if it's not tight end, if it's not safety, it's defensive tackle for the Arizona Cardinals. And another thing that I've been hearing as well. Take a look at the quarterback position. Carson Palmer getting up there in his twilight years. Don't be surprised if one of these quarterbacks that Arians likes is around at 20. Don't be surprised if he pulls the trigger. This was a 10-win team last year. It's not like they were one of these 4-12 outfits that can't afford. They can afford to draft and stash a quarterback. And so don't be surprised if at 20, a guy that Arians is in love with is there, like a Derek Carr, like a Blake Bortles, somebody that he really is intrigued by and feels like, hey, if I can get my hands on this guy, he didn't have to play for a year or two, and I can groom him. Don't be surprised if click, he pulls the trigger and they get themselves a quarterback at 20. Just a little food for thought. I'm done. I'm going to wipe the table off. You still got to do the dishes. So you move on to 21, Green Bay. Look, for me, it's simple. Packers need linebacker help. Packers need defensive line help. I'm not sold that B.J. Raji is going to be there past 2014. They signed him back to a one-year deal, which tells me they don't want B.J. Raji back, but he was there. He was cheap. Why not? So I'm thinking at 21, if C.J. Mosley is available, I think it's easy. You take C.J. Mosley. If he's not available, if a safety is there, if Pryor is there, which I can't see any of the top two safeties being around. But if so, you take one of those guys. But if C.J. Mosley isn't there and neither of the safeties are there, I think you either go defensive tackle or maybe a guy like Ryan Shazier starts to come into play here for the Green Bay Packers at 21. You look at the Eagles at 22. And for me, the Eagles are a team that you've heard all of the different things. Oh, the Eagles won a big target. What is Riley Cooper? Is he 5'11"? No, Riley Cooper's a big guy. Why you need another one of those guys? That would be overkill. You got rid of Deshaun Jackson. Again, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm connecting dots here, okay? You got a chance to get an explosive playmaking receiver here at 22. If Cooks, Odell Beckham Jr. is available, you got to take one of those two guys. I'm not a big Marquise Lee fan, but if you like him, you take him at 22. However, if there is a cornerback available here that you really like, and let's talk about those same top-tier corners, those same two, Dennard or Gilbert is available. I don't see how you pass those guys up, but I don't expect either one of those guys to be around. Now, maybe you like another corner. You know, maybe Bradley Roby tickles your fancy. Maybe you're a Jason Verrett type of guy, okay? Maybe you like Kyle Fuller out of Vatech. then you take a corner maybe. But to me, Chip Kelly is an offensive-minded guy at heart. He knows what he has to do. And if he wants to continue to be explosive on offense, he's got to take something elite with game-changing speed here at 22. I expect him to take a receiver at 22. I'm not buying any of the hype. I want a big receiver. Myth. He's taking a cornerback. Myth. Unless it's one of those top-tier corners. If those guys are gone, and I expect them to be, he's taking a receiver. You look at 23 Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs, they got a lot of options here. They could trade out of this pick, which they probably would like to do. They could select a receiver here. Dwayne Bowe needs Robin. I said that on the mock draft. They could use a tight end. If Ebron is there, maybe you take Ebron. To me, you could use an offensive lineman. Your offensive line was gutted. There's a number of ways you could go. But when it's all said and done, I think you take the best player available on your board that meets a position of need, whether that is offensive line, whether that is corner, whether that is receiver. Anybody's guess what the Chiefs do at 23. I don't know. I think they're going to take a receiver if I had to guess, because they need more targets out there for Alex Smith. You look at 24, the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals are intriguing because you lose Michael Johnson in free agency. Can't keep them all. You kept Dunlap. You kept Geno Atkins. You can't keep them all. So he's gone. That leaves a little bit of a void. But again, remember, you drafted a big boy in the second round last year. And so you might want to allow him to develop and see what he brings to the table. So don't know if a guy like Marcus Hunt is going to be able to fill that void or not, but you want to give him the opportunity to. So I don't think you draft defensive end here, right? I'm thinking, I said in my video, that secondary is old as dirt, all right? Ben Gay and Jared Tall for all. Yeah, I expect them to go corner, but don't sleep on a guy like Ryan Shazier here either. Either way, I think it's going to be an Ohio State prospect that's right in their backyard. They're able to do their homework. I think it's either Roby or it's going to be Shazier at 24 for the Bengals. You look at San Diego. To me, yeah, you need a receiver. Yeah, you definitely could use a cornerback here. All of those make sense. But to me, what makes the most sense is what I mocked here. Nose tackle, Louis Nix, Notre Dame, move on. So you look at Cleveland at 26. And to me, I could easily see Cleveland packaging up this pick with another pick or two and going up in the draft and selecting a quarterback of their liking if they don't take one at number 4. That's just my opinion. If they don't take a quarterback at 4, then I can see them moving up. If they take a quarterback at 4, then I can see them standing pat at 26. And I think the smart thing to then do is to get yourself a cornerback. Joe Hayden needs help. It's time for Joey Snatches to get a tag team partner. 26 would be just the right spot to do it. And a guy like Kyle Fuller out of Vatech makes the most sense to me. So you look at 27 New Orleans Saints. I can see the Saints trading back, but I also can see the Saints standing pat. And if they stand pat, receiver is definitely going to be here if they want to make a selection there. They lose Lance Moore. You remember, a huge part of their passing game was also Darren Sproles. He's no longer on your football team. Colston getting up there in age. I don't trust Robert Meacham further than I can throw him. So receiver could definitely be something on your radar. However, you need help at cornerback. And I think that's the more glaring need. And so at 27, if I'm the Saints, that's where I'm heading with my pick. And that's what I mocked them to do. And I think Jason Verrett would be an excellent pick for them at 27. 28, Panthers. I think the way this draft is going to shape up, you're going to get yourself an opportunity to draft a receiver. Now, what's more important to you at 28? Carolina? The receiver on one side or the tackle? You got a glaring need at both. You don't have a number 1. Hell, you don't even have a number 2 receiver on your team. And you don't have a starting left tackle. I like Byron Bell. I don't love him. No, I don't. So, which one's more important? I need to keep my franchise QB who you haven't given a deal to yet. Question mark. I need to keep him upright. So this is a very deep draft at receiver. Think I'm going with the tackle here on this one. Hey, both positions are deep. I just need something that I can deem elite. Give me the tackle at 28. But don't be surprised if they take a receiver. But if Dave Gettleman sticks true to his words, sticks true to his philosophy, builds from within, then the offensive tackle is coming off the board first for the Panthers. You look at 29, Patriots. Look, as long as you don't trade this pick, I'm happy with whatever the New England Patriots do. But knowing the Patriots, they're going to try to trade back. But if they have to make a selection, defensive end makes sense. And I think Coney Ealy is going to be here. Even though I mocked him to the Cowboys at 16, I don't see Coney Ealy going off the board that soon. That's one of those, if I had it to do all over again, yeah, I'd probably change that pick. I think this is the perfect spot. Great value, makes sense, perfect fit. Coney Ealy here to the New England Patriots at 29. You look at the San Francisco 49ers. They're a wild card because they've got a number of picks in this draft. And to me, in my mind, there's no question the 49ers are trading up. To where and to get whom is a question you should be asking yourself. Are the 49ers trading up to 5 maybe to get Mike Evans? That's something to think about. Ponder that for a second. Makes a lot of sense for the Raiders who want to trade back. Makes a lot of sense for the 49ers who lack that big-bodied receiver that can go up and high point the football. That could be something that they entertain. Could they come up to, say, number, 2 to get a guy like Sammy Watkins? I don't know. That's a really far way to go. But if anybody could pull it off, it's the San Francisco 49ers. I know this much. I don't expect the 49ers to select at 30. Where they're slotted to select, I expect them to select a lot sooner than that. You look at 31 for the Denver Broncos. They'd love to get their hands on an offensive lineman. They'd love to get their hands on a linebacker. Shazier could be gone. We know Mosley is going to be gone. I could easily see them getting a guy like Suafilu, but I think he's going to be off the board as well at this point. And so I don't think a guy like David Yankee fits what they do. He's not athletic enough. So I think they might have to reach for a guy here. I don't really know what I think the Denver Broncos are going to do because I think linebacker is a glaring need. I think offensive line is a glaring need. But you also look at this secondary. Cornerback could also be a need. No more Champ Bailey. He was up there in age anyhow. That's somewhere where I think you could look. And even though you got Aqib Talib in free agency, don't be surprised if the Broncos double up here and take a cornerback if nothing else is available and there's a really good corner sitting there or even a receiver even. So Broncos have the pick of the litter. And again, when you're drafting at 31, that means you're doing things right already. Expect the Broncos to pick someone that they deem to be the best player available on their board. And 32, there's no doubt in my mind that the Seattle Seahawks are getting out of this pick. I had a guy screaming at me that was a Seahawks fan telling me there's no way, and I want to believe it's yellow. I want to believe it's yellow, man. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. Could have been Riley Moreno. It could have been yellow, man. Either way, one of those guys are saying there's no way we're trading this pick. You're wrong. That is a myth because you're penny pinching now. You just gave a deal to arguably the best safety in the league in Earl Thomas, and rightfully so. You got to lock your stuff up, all right? So he just got a deal. You already gave a deal to Cam Chancellor. You're paying Percival Harvin, all right? You're about to pay Richard Sherman. You're going to have to break the bank to do that. And oh, yeah, you got to sign a guy by the name of Russell Wilson here shortly as well. And no, he doesn't have a fifth-year option. You didn't get him in the first round. So you got to make a decision on him quick. And you're going to re-sign him. Definitely. So guess what? You're penny pinching now. You can't afford to sign a guy and have to give him a lot of money at the back end of the first round. Sure, you'd love the option to have a fifth-year option on a guy. But guess what? Which one comes first? Which one means more to you? Fifth-year option, less money. You're pinching right now. You're penny pinching. I could easily see somebody calling you up and you moving back 2 or 3 picks. I can see the Redskins dialing you up and saying, hey, I want 32. I'd love to get my hands on Jimmy Ward. Give me your pick. I can see you moving back, 2 slots and not really having to be overcompensated for it, and you not having to spend the money that it would require to sign a first-round pick. I can see that happening. I can see somebody seeing Teddy Bridgewater sitting there at the end of the first round and being afraid that the Texans, who haven't selected a quarterback, would take him with the first pick in the second round and say, hey, how about you give me 32 so I can move up, select Teddy Bridgewater. I drafted and mocked the Jags coming up and getting Teddy Bridgewater there. Who's to say someone doesn't do that? So, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. So, a few sleepers to look for in the draft. 1, Redskins don't have a first-round pick. Don't think they're going to select in the first round this year. However, keep your eye on them late in the first round. If there's something there that's falling, that they're a little nervous about getting to them at 34. If it's there at, say, 31, 32, maybe even 30, don't be surprised if the Redskins come calling and try to sneak into the first round at the end. It won't cost them a lot to go up 3 or 4 picks to get the guy that they covet if he's there. Don't be surprised. Don't sleep on the Redskins sneaking into the back end of the first round. I don't see it happening, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Also, C-Dub left a beautiful post kind of breaking down scenarios for the St. Louis Rams in the first video. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at his comments, please do so. That's a beautiful post by my man C-Dub, huge Rams fan. He thinks the Rams are hot on the trail of one Jonathan Football. And so look at all his scenarios and the way that he breaks it down. That's definitely a possibility. Don't sleep on the Rams and their interest in Jonathan Laces. Okay? That could be something that gains steam as we move into Thursday and the 2014 NFL Draft. Don't sleep on the 49ers. They've got picks. They've got ammunition. They're locked, stocked, and ready to pop on a receiver early in this draft that they like something and they have a chance to get their hands on it. Don't be surprised the 49ers move up and get a guy that they target and covet to add to their offensive weaponry. And also, don't sleep on the Cleveland Browns. They've got picks. They've got opportunities to move back, to move up, to do whatever it is they need to do to get the players that they feel like can help them move in the right direction with this franchise. The Browns are going to be major players in this draft, whether they stay at where they're at and make 2 selections in the first round, or they make 1 selection, package up some picks to make another selection. You don't know what the Browns are going to do. They're a wild card, as are the St. Louis Rams in this first round. So keep an eye on both of those teams. And don't sleep on the Patriots selecting Teddy Bridgewater. I told you in the mock draft, don't think for 1 second that Bill Belichick isn't still playing chess. Everybody else is playing checkers. You know how that mind of his works. Don't think he's not playing checkers right now. He's looking at the board, he's surveying what's going on, and he's trying to jump over a million different pieces right now. He's trying to figure out how to get kinged. Watch out for the Patriots saying, hey, if you're going to allow Teddy to fall into our lap, we'll take him. I still think someone's going to take Teddy Bridgewater off the board before the Patriots even get a sniff at him at 29. But don't be surprised if he does fall all the way down to the Patriots at 29. I think the Patriots and Bill Belichick will entertain the thought of selecting Teddy Bridgewater and grooming him to be potentially the heir apparent to Tom Brady, or just more trade bait. We know how the Patriots like to hold people up at gunpoint and rob them of picks later on down the road. This could be a guy that helps them continue on in that tradition of raping teams of their picks for a quarterback. They still got Ryan Mallett on ice in case anybody is desperate enough for a QB. So that's just a little bit more food for thought. Don't sleep on those teams and their situations in the 2014 draft. And so, that's going to do it for me here. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. I thank you for joining me. Enjoy the draft. If you're having a party, make sure you open up a nice cold one for me. Enjoy the chips, the dip, the wings, the pizza, whatever it is you're doing on draft day. Have fun. Enjoy the draft. You know I'll be here breaking down days 1 and 2 of the draft. And then after that, I'll let the rest of it play itself out. And then we'll get into these draft breakdowns for the 2014 NFL draft. So enjoy the festivities. Enjoy the draft. If you haven't sent me your mock already, and I'm sorry, Flash. Flash obviously sent me his mock. I got to check my inbox. Got to check the comment section. Maybe I missed it. But he was fussing at me. He said he gave me his mock already. I apologize, Flash. I don't remember seeing it. I don't recall. But if it's there, I'll find it, because I'm about to start taking notice of everyone who's giving me their mocks. Because again, I don't want everybody trying to beat me up for being wrong, and you didn't give me anything. Don't throw stones if you living in a glass house over there. So, beat me. Come on, I'm challenging you guys out there. Beat me, okay? Give me your mocks. So, and look, I'm not changing. You got the advantage here. I'm giving you the opportunity to give me your mock draft a day before the draft, okay? I put mine out a month ago when things were unsettled. Things are much more clearer now. You have an opportunity to kill me, okay? It's like me giving you a head start in a race. It's like me giving you 9 points and we're playing to 10, one-on-one. All you got to do is make a basket. Give me your mock. So, and one more thing, all right? L, you, my friend, don't let that corona burn your throat, because you said you were going to have your feet up on your little ottoman, sipping a corona when the Houston Texans select Blake Bortles. Hope that corona isn't burning your throat, and don't let it go down the wrong pipe either when you start coughing and choking because it went down the wrong pipe because you were wrong. And I'm going to call you out on it when it doesn't happen and that clowny pick goes through. That's going to do it for me here on this program. Enjoy the draft. You know I will. I'll see you after day 1 of the draft, and I'll break down all the happenings of the first round of the 2014 NFL draft.
Draft zone.
Like the content? Want more? Sub up.
In the lab